Um, right now, I just started, so I'm trying to monitor Facebook, but hopefully people can pop on with me. Once again, I haven't figured out this technology, so seems like I always just want to do it and not take the time to learn, but it's a little bit complicated. So you're watching me scroll around on the screens, but you're about to watch me get started on the sculpt again. I'm using actually my head cast this time, so that is something that is a little bit different. And I think I'm going to set up a table for you guys to watch from, so you guys can get a little better view than the one you guys have had lately. I'm not what you're looking at here. You're really here to look at my sculpt. So I'm going to set that up for you. Now, I can't see what's going on, but hopefully you guys can. So I'm doing Bigfoot, and my head is a little bit Bigfoot shaped, so nothing wrong with that. I see that somebody has joined me. That's awesome, because that means that people can. Grab a thing of clay, get out right here, and get started. So whoever's on, if you're on here with me, I think there is a limit to that, but feel free to ask questions. And if you are on and your mic is on, I'm going to request that you help me out by watching either the YouTube page or the Google Plus Hangout event page, so that you can ask me those questions as they come up. I'm kind of intent on what I'm doing. I got gummy fingers, so I cannot necessarily monitor the questions myself. Let me get my volume up here. All right, hopefully you guys can hear me well. And most everybody else has themselves muted. Good, got a thumbs up, that's nice. Don't be afraid to unmute if you see a question pop up, because I won't see it. So the very first mask that I ever made, that I ever sculpted and molded, I should say, was a Bigfoot mask. So, and I haven't made another one since. That was in 1993. So it's been a while since I have made a Bigfoot mask. But I do greatly, I like Bigfoot. Bigfoot's fun. It's hard to argue a case for or against Bigfoot, but you have to admit he's fun. Even if he's just selling beef jerky, I like him. So once again, I'm using kind of wads of clay all over. I'm not doing the real small wads like I did before, because I don't need this to be a super close fitting piece. This is going to have to be either a big actor, or it's going to have to be an actor on stilts, because I need my Bigfoot head to be a little bit larger than life. I hear myself from somebody's speakers or whatever with a little bit of a lag, but it's not very loud, so it's not distracting to me. And I'm trying to get a layer of clay over the whole thing, because that's what lets me sculpt. I don't want to go too big with this layer. We had an issue in our shop recently where somebody made a mask and they just had too much clay on. And the mask is kind of unusable. It's so big. There's an upside to big masks, but the downside is you have to pat them so much, or they're uncomfortable. You can't see out of them. and your mouth is so far from the breathing holes it's hard to breathe out of them. So I try to avoid making masks too big. And this one I'll probably use a couple tricks in order to keep parts of it close to the head so I don't have to pat it too much. I know that most of this is going to get fur over it, so the places that I have to detail are fewer than a normal mask. You know, I know where there's going to be hair. I know where all that's going to land. So there's parts I just don't have to detail. So I think I can get this knocked out in my normal 2-hour window, it being 8 o'clock when I started roughly. So I'll have this done by 10 o'clock, I think, no problem. It is Bigfoot. It'd be really fun if I could sculpt him so he looked blurry. That would explain all the pictures, all the photos that are blurry. I think that's kind of fun. But I can't. I don't have that level of skill at this point in time. Well, this angle isn't completely, you know, you guys looking dead on at the sculpt, but it should help a bit. Because normally you guys are over there, and now you're here. So is it, I know it'd be nice if I could plan these and say it's definitely happening at this time on this day, but I hope it's not too annoying that they just kind of pop up like, hey, I'm doing one right now. We're in 20 minutes. I hope that's not too bad. I can't always plan when I have time to go into the shop and sculpt. I try to. And I have some stuff set up because I was actually filming a YouTube Wednesday video earlier. I'll get that finished up here probably tomorrow and have it posted in time for Wednesday. And once again, I'm using water-based clay because that's the good stuff. It helps. I'm going to do something that I don't normally do with masks. I'm going to make this one have a big old open mouth because I kind of know where it's going to be used. And it's going to be seen very briefly, but they're going to have a loud soundtrack. So I'm going to make sure that it looks like it's matching the soundtrack as a nice loud open mouth. And if I just make a stuffed head, it'll look cooler with an open mouth. And I want that option for this to have it be either a prop or a mask. And now that my head is largely covered, I've got to keep my face, I've got to keep going and cover the back. I don't want to have to stop and do this later once I have detail on. So I'm kind of watching everybody pop up here. That's kind of neat. And you guys can completely, you know, I'm not cutting you off by all means. If you're on screen there and you're on here with me, pop in, ask questions, talk to me. Don't feel nervous about that at all because my guess is it's going to make the video a lot more interesting when it plays on YouTube. Because who wants to hear me talk to myself for that long? For the 4 of you who are on, 5 of you who are on, anybody have any questions about Bigfoot or my sculpt? Okay. We are silent on the issue of Bigfoot. Noted. Do I have you all muted? No, I don't. Okay. So I am chucking along. Latex also shrinks. So this mask is going to shrink about 10 to 15% from the size that I sculpted. Normally I put about 1 inch of clay on, 3/4, ½ inch of clay on, and depending upon the sculpt in the area, So this time I'll probably do a little more clay as I'm sculpting and building up, because I do want a good sized head, and I know it is going to shrink. My head is good in some ways, my plaster cast for making masks. It's good because it's a big head. I have a big melon, and I wear masks a lot, so it's nice to have them that fit me pretty well. But it isn't good because I have no neck whatsoever to speak of. I might have an inch of neck. So a lot of times if I make a mask on my head, the flaps of the neck stick up here on most people. Whereas on me, they lay down, but here they stick up because I just don't have that long of a neck. So I have one bust where I cut my head off and I raised it up and I filled it with plaster in order to make a longer neck. And that works really well, but obviously I don't have that one right now. This is my good old stumpy head version. So eventually, it'd be really cool if I could do one of these where I post the materials list and say, hey, have these things and we'll make something on the Hangout on air. And you guys can pop on and just make stuff right along with me. I think that'll be fun. But once again, I'm doing these to get it figured out. Now, 2 times in a row, I've been able to have people show up here with me. And I think it's broadcasting to YouTube, but I'm not sure. If anybody can check YouTube and see if this video is going to YouTube, that'd be awesome, because I would love to know. But I don't want to stop progress to find that. I think that eventually there'll be some kind of a degree you can get through YouTube videos, because there's just so much information on YouTube that you can find out how to do anything. I watch a lot of fishing YouTube videos because I do a lot of fishing now, and they teach me stuff. So I've just about got the back of the head covered now in clay. Just about have it covered. As soon as I have it covered, I'm going to go around to the front and start really sculpting. This is necessary work on me done, but it's certainly not the fun part. Just making sure there's a lump over everything. This is not a new bag of clay, so it's a little firmer than normal. So I have to work a little bit harder. That also means it will hold good detail. Because just like a mud, if you run a stick through mud, if it's real wet, the water just spills back into it. But if it's dry, you can get that nice scratch mark in it. It's just mud, so it's very similar to that. Get my sculpting tools here. A lot of clay. Alright, so this big old clay head has to turn into Bigfoot. So I use this clay here to do it. I know that he's got a big old forehead, much bigger than the normal human, so I'm going to put that on, raising up his head. I might even do a bit of a sagittal crest, which is a gorilla feature, just a ridge of bone down the forehead. And normally, a fairly simple mask will take about 25 pounds of clay. So you get clay in a 50-pound box. So, you know, you can get 2 masks pretty much out of a box of clay. This guy, I think, might take a little bit more, but maybe not. I have a pretty large head to begin with, so I'm not necessarily using a ton of clay on it. But I do want to do a roar, so I've got to bring this jaw down quite a bit. So I have built up the head here. Let's go go ahead and get some tools out. I'm going to grab a couple sculpting tools. I'll be right back. Okay, Bruce, I just have to miss you because of your mic. I'm sorry. You were feedbacky. All right. Give it a little turntable. Now folks can see a little better. All right. So now I can just twist it easy. Get it to you. And right now I'm just kind of dragging out in order to smooth out all this clay that I already have put on. If I put it on, it's got all those pinches and stuff from me applying it and both taking it off of the block. So just by doing this and scraping it down, I'm able to smooth that face out quite a bit more. Welcome everybody who is here with me. Very cool to have you and for you guys to give up your Monday evening. I am giving up watching the Walking Dead premiere. I was busy last night. I went to a haunted house and I didn't have a chance to watch it. And I will probably watch it after we are done here this evening. I'm hoping that it's a good season. Walking Dead is something that I don't ever take for granted because it's something that is bringing horror and monsters into everybody's home, and I think that is cool. The more things that make horror mainstream, the more horror movies get made, the more people want monsters, the more work makeup artists get, and monster makers, and the more folks. So, kind of. I know it's not 100% that accurate, but I can't imagine a show being about zombies being #1 in the nation hurting haunted house attendants at all. I don't think that it will. I think it'll help. Haunted houses are kind of what I do. So you can see how much smoother this is than this is back here, just because I haven't run this over it yet. I did put an extra lump of clay up on the forehead to make that a little larger. And I'm thinking Bigfoot's going to be about 8 feet tall, so he's got to have a good sized melon. I think a brow ridge is very important to him and to his look because that's important to a gorilla. And Sasquatch, I think, is kind of a mix of a human, a gorilla, you know, some kind of nice heavy brow ridge. And I like heavy brow ridges. This kind of plays into my style anyway because of how much I like big old brows. And I am going to go ahead and put a piece on now that implies that sagittal crest. It won't be finished, but it will be a little note, a little reminder to me that it's something that I want to incorporate into this design. I did a mask class at HauntCon 2 years ago, and my friend Don Powell happened to take the class, and he sculpted a zombie, and he kind of put this sagittal crest in it. So it just so happened where he ran out of time, and I kind of helped him finish out the sculpt, and it was kind of like a zombie Bigfoot. It was really cool. It was fun. Good piece. Good piece. So I'm doing cheeks now, but you guys can see where I'm at. It's Bigfoot. That's what I'm going to do. So whenever I do a body part that has like two cheekbones, two eyebrows, two ears, I take one piece of clay and I tear it in half. That way I know that both of these cheeks are going to be the same size. But I also have to start with the same amount on the sculpt. You want a nice even understructure. It helps. And I'm going to kind of put these out. Normally your cheekbones would go in this area, but I'm going to make them wider, more like almost orangutan style, because I think that'll add to the look of what Bigfoot is. Nice and clean. I want to make that edge blend in. So I'm taking a ball and I'm spreading out that ball so it drags down and becomes more of a lump. Almost like a scrubbing bubble. Remember those from the commercials? They're not a ball, it's a scrubbing bubble. So push in here. So people are not being quiet because I told them to. People are being quiet because they want to be quiet. If anyone wants to say anything, say hi, whatever, feel free. Ask questions.
Hi, Alan.
Hi. Tell me you don't believe in Bigfoot. Tell me you do believe in Bigfoot.
I believe you'll fight Bigfoot.
I like me some Bigfoot. I think he's awesome. I want him to exist, whether he does or not. Because there should be more monsters out there in the world. I'm putting on a bottom lip. I'm putting on a bottom lip lower than normal to remind me that he is going to be roaring. I want him to be a boisterous, angry Bigfoot. Not a happy, shiny Bigfoot like a lot of people see.
Like Howie and the Hendersons?
Yeah, not like that. Not Harry. Harry's not what I want.
Tell me how long it's been since I saw that show.
The actor who played him was named Kevin Peter Hall, who also played the Predator.
Ooh.
He was Kevin Peter Hall, pretty awesome actor. Because if you can do a good performance through that much makeup and that much foam, you're pretty good at your craft.
Was he also the guy that did FTD Fuller's commercials?
Was he super tall black guy?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Little ginger dude.
No. Kevin Peter Hall was very tall. He had a semi-recurring character on Night Court, the TV show, which I always thought was kind of fun.
Semi-returning?
Recurring. He was on several episodes as a inmate at an asylum. And I guess he kept escaping or something. I don't remember it very well. I was pretty young when Night Court was playing.
Oh, making me feel old. That was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, it's one of mine too. So, nose. Gotta have a nose. But I'm not going to do a nose the normal way I do a nose by building out. I'm just going to build out the nostrils because that's how kind of gorilla noses are. And once again, there's two nostrils, so I'm going to take one piece of clay and make it the same size so I can do my nose this way. See, and that gets me a very different nose than building up that center bump would.
And Luke has a question. Alan, have you been to the Darkness in St. Louis? I'm hoping to make it there this season and wanted to know what you think of it.
Well, I have been to the Darkness in St. Louis. The Darkness is one of those haunted houses that does a lot of people every year. And because they do people every year, they have some challenges that a lot of haunted houses don't. Netherworld in Atlanta, Georgia has the same challenges. Erebus has the same challenges. they just have so many guests, so many visitors, that it's real hard to maintain any kind of show quality. It's easy to scare one person, you know, but it's real hard to scare 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people a night. So they have to kind of mass hire actors to make sure that people see enough actors. They don't always get the training that they need. I think that the owner of the darkness means well and does a decent job. How's that? It's a little animatronic heavy for me. It doesn't tell one story. I kind of like haunts to tell me a story, but it does not quite. It's not my style of haunt. Like Haunted Hoochie. Haunted Hoochie, very good show. I recognize it as a quality show, but it's not what I want in a haunted house. You know, that's just not my style of stuff. So I don't like it as much as I would like something, you know, Netherworld or The Haunt in Michigan. You know, that's telling those stories is good. What the haunt house used to be. Great haunted house right near here, Reindeer Manor and 13th Street Morgue. They tell a great little story, and I kind of like that. So, using my popsicle sticks again, I love these things for wrinkles and lines. Now, I'm definitely not detailing yet by any means, but I am just putting in notes so that as I bring this up and as I make this sculpt a thing, I know what I wanted to do. So I put a little reminder in. I'm going to put a little reminder in for the nasolabial fold. And he's yelling, so I'm going to start it way up high. And now that I know my nasolabial fold starts up that high, I can take some clay and build it up. I've got two sides to it. So once again, I'm splitting a piece of clay in half, using one for one side, and the other for the other side. This is going to have a lot of hair on it, so it's going to be you know, fuzzy. It's going to be a lot of this sculpt is going to be covered in hair, so it has to be a good understructure. That tells me I will have it done in 2 hours, but that when I pour it and pull it, it won't be a finished piece. I'll still have to hair it before this monster is done and ready to go.
Now, I missed that part. So this is going to be a mask, or is it going to be a bust?
It's going to be a bit of both. I'm going to make sure it works as both, but its primary function is a bust.
Now, is it going to go to dark hour, or?
No, this is going to a friend actually in South Carolina.
Ah.
So they have a little show that they are doing, and they want a nice roaring Bigfoot. But it's always something I can put in my monster museum under a different name as like a bugbear or something, because once I have the mold, I have the mold.
Got it, true.
And if you put that expressionless gaze on them, then there isn't quite enough action in it to make a good head. You know, as a prop, you won't have an actor in there, you know, making it come alive. You see right now the chin is really helping this piece. It looked kind of duck-like before, so I put that big old bottom lip on there and not giving it any structure to mess with. I'm going to grab another hunk of clay here because he needs jaw muscles. He's going to need nice big old jaw muscles in order to sell this big mouth I'm putting on him. So I'm taking the one piece, I split it in half, I look at it dead on, and I figure out where I want it. There. And that gives me the line of his jaw, which I have to sell with anatomy to make it make sense. Alright, so to me, he's already feeling a little bit gorilla-like. I want to get some clay and do some small ears. Humans, I think, they have the biggest ears of the apes. You know, chimpanzees, they grow into their ears, so a young chimpanzee might have big ears. But as they get older, they have tiny ears, and gorillas have tiny ears. And they're also set much lower. Like our ears are here, their ears are much lower on their head and further back. So I'm going to put his ears not in the right spot and make some tiny ears for the size of this critter. Once again, two pieces the same size. I do my ears in 2 stages. The first stage being 1 in each hand. I'm not quite 100% true ambidextrous, so I'm mirroring my left hand with what my right hand is doing. So if I push in the clay with my right, I make sure I do that with the left. And that way, I'll get even ears that I can touch up, but they'll be, you know, the structures will be largely done. Okay. And if I push in towards the face, I automatically make that hook of the ear. You know, can you see that? All I did, I pushed in on this side of that little disc that I made. And that gave me that hook. So I can pull it down. I'm not going to elongate it too much because I want smaller ears than normal. I don't want it to blend into the jawbone, so I've got to keep that from happening. Smaller and lower. Alright, so that's that. And I can already see that, hopefully you guys can see it too, my left ear is lower than my right.
Uh-oh.
In this instance, I think I want to take his left, my right hand did it. This ear needs to come off, and I'll just move it down lower. This isn't something to freak out about. Even if I had fully sculpted this and then I saw that, I'd make the same choice. You have to fix it. Because I don't want to mold something that I'm not happy with or proud of. So I have a little wire tool here. Modifying your sculpt is this easy. Shoop, it's gone. Now I'm going to really look at it and line it up to make it a little lower. And I can look at where I cut it off of to make sure it's where I want it. Alright, it's back on. Now the back of the ear, there's nothing really connecting this, it's just a flap. So I need to go in now and put a little worm of clay back there and use a popsicle stick to blend it into this side and then blend it into this side. This puts it into the gap. So now it's well and attached to the head like I want. All right. Here. The mouth is going to be very important on this. Like I said, I want him to be roaring, so the mouth is important. The brow ridge is very important because it's Bigfoot, and that's a trait that you notice in gorillas. You notice that in Bigfoot. I'm going to put a few quick wrinkles in. I'm going to add some fat up around the face because I really want to sell the roaring of him. And one way I can do that is to, you see how this squinches up here? The larger my mouth is open, I get this, so I want to do that up here.
Oh,
and once again,
Jordan's asking, would the actor be able to open and close the mouth on this mask at all?
it's possible. What I can always do, and if you want to do a mask that opens and closes the mouth, make it something with hair. Werewolf, gorilla, because the hair can hide those cut lines. So this is a mask piece, and the bottom jaw is another piece that attaches to your chin. You just have black fabric in there. So as you do that, and you'd have elastic straps that strap that chin piece on, and as it moves, you move this open and closed.
Gotcha.
And I'm not making faces at you. I am making faces in order to sculpt. So my apologies if I turn and give you a dirty look. I'm actually just trying to make a good monster. So just kind of adding these fat wads and all these areas. It's a good way to add up some detail and bulk it up by adding in these muscle groups and fat components that make up faces. And yeah, I'm sculpting a Bigfoot. If I were a lazy sculptor, I might say, well, their facial anatomy is nothing like ours. So yeah, it looks really weird because Bigfoot, you know, you don't know what they look like, you don't know it exists. But that's a lazy way to do it. If you base it off of nature, it's going to look much more realistic. This is a black sponge. I cut it from a pool filter that I bought at Home Depot, or you can buy a makeup sponge for about $5 for maybe twice this size. The pool filter is $10, and I get about 20 of these out of it. So if you sculpt, buy that thing. Very useful.
Good to know. I gotta write that down.
I'm using it in order to smooth out and scrape away these pieces that I've added here. And that's going to make it all blend into one so that I don't have, it looks less like pieces that I stuck on here and it's starting to look more like a face. And my goal for this, I started at 8 o'clock. My goal is to have this by hour number 2 be a kind of a finished roaring Bigfoot ready for hair.
Oh, there's hers.
And as I'm kind of brushing this out with this piece of sponge, which is, it's a real firm sponge, and it's big and open, it's very coarse, almost a road rash sponge, stipple sponge, I guess. I'm also flattening out those worms that I put on so that they look a little less cartoony and they just become that fatty piece of the face that moves. And it gets filled with gunk, so you got to wash it out every now and then. I got a big old bucket of water here. I'm just rinsing it out in, so I can come back to it and have this nice clean sponge.
Yeah.
So Jay Wall from Haunter's Hangout is going to visit Dark Hour this weekend coming up.
Oh, again? Nice.
Yeah, so he'll be acting at Dark Hour. He's an exterminator character that is hilarious. And he'll be up. And we'll also have Dolly Molly out. Dolly Molly is a friend of mine who is a super talented girl, and she plays a wind-up doll. She lives in Houston. Yeah, she lives in Houston. So it's a 4-hour drive for her, but she loves working at Dark Hour. She loves scaring people, and she will come up in order to play with us. And I cannot wait to have her visit. And Jay Wall, of course.
So that thing you got from Home Depot, that's like a blender, you said?
It's a pool filter.
Okay.
It's about $10, and it's big. It's a big piece of sponge. It's like this big, and there's a black side and a blue side.
Okay.
And this is the black side. The blue side's like a regular sponge, and I do use it, but it's not as useful as the black side. Because the black side places something that is rather expensive.
Yeah. Cool. I'm just trying to get stuff together because more and more people are joining our New York group. Yay!
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm using my popsicle stick here, and I'll show you guys dead on. I just did some lines here, and because of this angle, one side is flat and one side kind of cuts in, and that makes me some nice little wrinkles that once I soften with the sponge, look a lot more realistic. Like, see, I've done this side. I've softened them a little bit, and I can soften the other side. It just looks a lot better. Looks less like a tool mark and more like a wrinkle. Yeah, I kind of love Bigfoot and monsters and just, creatures sort of general. So this kind of sculpt is right up my alley. Nosferatu, I think that's the last one that I did.
Yeah.
Not exactly as up my alley because I've never been a fan of vampires. I don't like mixing my romance and my monsters, I want them to chase people, not mate with them.
How did he turn out?
Pretty good, pretty good. I haven't pulled from the mold yet, but I have the mold done. So I'll have a pull from the mold probably for this weekend, and I'll try and show some pics on Facebook. And anybody who's watching this, if you guys can, find me on Facebook, Alan Hops, or Instagram. I'm also Alan Hops, I think, on Instagram. If I'm around those, I don't honestly know which one I am. It's not something I worry about a lot, but I am trying to get better with it, and I'm trying to share more. So, join me on Facebook because I do post quite a bit on there.
Cool.
I'm probably going to grab some I-forms and pop them in, but I'm going to be very careful to make sure that I can cut them out. I want to be able to cut them out and have the actor see with their own eyes. So even though I'm putting I-forms in it, a mask version would not have those eyes in it.
True.
The first Bigfoot that I made, the first mask I ever molded and sculpted was a Bigfoot mask. And years later, I sold a Bigfoot costume to Haxon Films, and they used it when they were making their Freaky Links TV show.
Mm.
And also, I think they use it as a Halloween costume for the guy. And those are the guys who made Blair Witch.
Oh, cool.
They were based out of Orlando when I was in Orlando. They probably still are. I'm just not based in Orlando anymore. And I don't mind at all that I have no neck. 'Cause I don't think Sasquatch has much of a neck either. And because this is my head cast that I'm working on, I'll show you guys where we're at right now. So I feel pretty confident I'll be able to get this guy where I need it to be in the amount of time this week. I'm working right now on smoothing out. I'm kind of using this guy, but I'm also about to take a piece of burlap and get it really wet. I know, this real nice rough burlap. Using it to smooth out some of these forms. Burlap, you got to watch out for the big fibers that come off, and they can gunk you up a little bit. If I was doing something super smooth like a robot, no way I'd use burlap on it because it's going to give you some wrinkles and creases and stuff that I don't mind at all for Bigfoot, but I wouldn't want them on something I wanted to appear smooth. And a big part of this one tonight that I'm doing is it's going to have a lot of hair on it. So I'm not as worried as I normally am about having that super finished skin. But I do need my structures to be right because, if one side of the face is bigger than the other, that'll read under hair just like it would if you were just looking at it. A polar bear does not stop being deformed if it's deformed just by having hair. So I don't even know what that meant. I'm just kind of rambling. Any more questions? Is anybody asking any questions? We don't have a lot of viewers tonight. I think it's Monday night and it's folks are in bed.
Let me see.
But is it going on to YouTube? Can anybody see that?
Yeah, it says live, so it looks like it is.
All right. Great. Yeah, as a kid, I loved Bigfoot, loved the Loch Ness Monster. Really cool, fun stuff. And as an adult, I'll say that I still like them. Kind of monsters that people believe in kind of make me giddy. The
Looks
world
like
needs more monsters.
yeah. Looks like Luke already left, but he said thanks for your videos.
No problem. I see a few folks I know. I see Kate there. I see David Crossland is on there. I'm just kind of peeking, so I may know more, but I don't see them right away. Work on that sagittal crest and have it end naturally on the back of the head. I never worry too much about the back of the head because that's not something that I want the actor to know they have a really, the back of their head looks awesome. Because the last thing I want is them, running after groups backwards.
Well, you're going to cover it with hair anyway, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. All this gets hair on it, so you kind of get that. The Spartan's only armor the front. Well, the back of you looks cool. Well, the front of you looks cool. So I don't want you, turning around for the group. Even in my haunted house, I want my actors to back away. I don't want them to turn their back and walk away from the customer. That's a big break of character. No predator is going to turn its back on something and walk away from it. It's just not how predators operate. And as a haunted house actor, you should be operating as a predator, in my humble opinion. If there's times you have to run away as an actor, but then you should be running away, and they won't have time to focus on the back of your head anyhow.
Yeah. I heard that one of the haunts just recently had a problem where a bunch of college students went in there and were roughing up patrons and the actors.
I don't doubt it. People are kind of the worst of the monsters, so most of your customers comes from patrons. I kind of have the joy right now at a dark hour where our issues now are not coming from the show or the actors. We're running into the problem of having too many people go through.
Oh.
If 1 in every 100 people is an asshole, and you do 2,000 people in a night, you have your fair share of assholes coming through.
Mm.
That you have to protect your actors from, your props from, and your other patrons from. So that's one of the sides of haunting that I'm not a big fan of. I'm not in the crowd control business, but you have to be if you're going to run a show. So just using my sponge again to help smooth all this out. Back of the head is now nice and smooth, and I won't feel guilty for taking the front of the head a little bit further in detail. You want to get this sucker all up at once, It's like a picture coming in to focus. I don't want to have one area come into harsh focus and not have the other areas be caught up. It's some people they'll sculpt one half of the face and do it awesome, and then you have to match that, and they always complain about it. Like, would you do it that way? Why not just bring it all up together? Do a line over there, do a line over there, do a line over there, do a line over there. I'm adding clay now because under the ear on this side was nice and smooth, and this side had a divot in it. So I'm just kind of taking out that divot to make sure that both of my forms are the same. I want them to be even. Yes, nothing in nature is perfect, but we can't sculpt perfectly. So if we try to sculpt it perfectly symmetrical, will have just about as much asymmetry as nature does, because that's how we operate. And that, again, that's the cry of a lazy sculptor when they say, well, no two ears are identical. But try, you bastard, try. Alright, I'm just about through with the boring parts and able to put in some detail on this guy. Almost. I will have to grab my phone here in a minute to pull up some gorilla pictures. I have a hard time with my computer and switching windows between the Google and something else, but I've got an iPad and I got a phone, so I'll be able to get it. I'm going to go to my ears. Ears have a hook and a Y. So I need to get a good wire loop, which I have. Plenty of little sculpting tools here. I'm looking for a wire loop. That's a wire loop, but it's not quite the one I want. Here's one that I want, right there. The old basic sculpting tool. So I want to reinforce, there's a C and a Y in the ear. Here is the C, the hook, and then there is a Y. I'm pulling out the center of the Y. That happens in the ear. The ear hole is right there above the Y, right there. Ear hole's a little above the Y. And the last part of the ear, part of what you take out of the hole, there's a flap that goes in front of the hole. And now, that doesn't look very special, but when I wet up my brush, and I brush it out, I will get all those nice ear structures. And I don't have the pad on this ear. I will go ahead and do that right now.
Uh-oh, you froze. Alan? Technical difficulties, please stand by. Oh, we lost him!
There goes Alan.
Did he initiate the Google chat?
No, I don't know. I think Alan initiated the call.
Oh.
He should be back on.
Oh. Let me send him a message. Check. We lost the connection. Oh, okay. He'll be back on in just a sec.
Sure.
I don't have that talent yet, Tanya. She just asked if somebody else... Okay, somebody else sculpt.
I don't have any clay on me, and unfortunately, I'm a very poor sculptor.
I'm trying to find the link. There it is. Alan put a link on his Facebook page for $8 8-piece pottery tool set. Pretty good deal.
Yeah, it was, there's like ones at Packatans, and they're like super cheap. I think I paid like $5 or $6, and it had like a sponge, and it had like the Y and everything, and all that stuff.
That's a pretty good...
Yeah.
That page is evil, though. Look at the cool stuff they got. Oh, this is a bad place. I'm going to spend some money there. I hope he's going to be able to get back on. He's running this rodeo.
Yeah, I know. So I kind of have like an impulse buy. I'll take a little bit of the floor here till Alan gets back. I had kind of an impulse buy today, and I bought one of these from Spirit.
Ooh, wait.
Rust.
He had it. Ooh, I didn't know they had that.
The only thing I don't like about it is you can obviously see the LEDs in it, like down in the bottom here, and that's the only part that sucks. As soon as I get on Hangout, everyone starts trying to get a hold of me.